Hello and welcome back. This week, I am talking about chores and hygiene. I'm putting them together in the same episode because a lot of the reasons behind why these are a struggle for our students are the same. And a lot of the strategies to help make them more likely to happen and easier to handle are also the same. So I'm going to talk about both of them at the same time. There may be some delineations between the two, but for the most part, I find a lot of overlap when it comes to chores and hygiene. Let's start by talking about why these things can be so challenging for our kids. I have multiple reasons, and it could be just one or two of these for your kiddo. It could be all of these. So that's part of the challenge, is that if your brain does not operate like your kiddos, you may not even be aware of some of the things that your kiddo is thinking or feeling relating to chores and hygiene. So that's why I want to start by talking about some of the reasons that these may be difficult. The first is the concept of object permanence, which is basically the concept that if we can't see something in our world, it does not exist. This is object permanence is actually tested with babies. There's a certain age at which babies develop a concept of object permanence. Below that age, if you say you have a stuffed animal and you hide it behind your back, they don't even look for it. To them, it's just gone. It just no longer exists. And then after a certain age, I'm not sure what that age is, but after a certain age, if you hide something behind your back, they are aware that it still exists and they will look for it behind your back, for example. It also makes me think about my cat. My cat has a sense of object permanence. If I put something behind my back, she will run behind me and try to find it. For those of us who have neurodivergent brains, object permanence comes up when something is not immediately in front of us or visible. We tend to just not think about it. From my own personal experience, in the house that I lived in previously, the bathroom setup didn't really have a way for me to have things on the counter. And so I had my hygiene items in the cabinet. And I can't tell you how many times I started my day, which my day usually starts by working out, and realized I forgot to put on deodorant because it's in the cabinet. Now, in the place I live now, I have a basket on my counter and all of my hygiene items are in that basket. And I don't ever forget to put on deodorant because I can see it every day. So object permanence, when it comes to chores and hygiene, if your kiddo does not see something physically, they are much more likely to not even think about it. If their toothbrush and toothpaste are not visible, they are most likely not going to think about brushing their teeth. Same with, my story about deodorant. It could even be something like having a broom visible. They're not going to think about sweeping if they don't even see a broom. So this is the concept of object permanence. I think it's more relevant in terms of hygiene than chores, but just be aware it's very relevant in terms of hygiene. It could even be if they use the last of their shampoo and it doesn't get replaced. Maybe they don't tell you. They could go 3 weeks and take showers without using shampoo, because once the bottle is gone, that concept is gone. It's just not there. We can support our kids with this by making things visible. So just like I said, I now have a basket, a plastic basket on the corner of my bathroom counter, and it has my hairbrush, my deodorant, my facial moisturizer, my toothbrush and toothpaste, lotion, just anything that's hygiene related that I may need, dental floss, chapstick, all of that stuff is in that basket. That means that at night and in the morning, all I have to do is look at that basket and see what I haven't done yet. There's also, I've seen some systems where people will have two baskets, and one is a morning basket and one is an evening basket. And so in the morning, everything hygiene related is in that basket. And as the child uses it, or the adult, doesn't have to just be for kids, as the person uses that item, they put it in the evening basket. And so in the morning, the way you know that you're done with hygiene is that the morning basket is empty. And then in the evening, everything's now in the evening basket. And it's the same thing. You use it and then you put it in the morning basket. I think that's a brilliant system, especially for people who struggle with completion and routine. I think that's a brilliant visual system, is to just be able to go back and forth between two baskets. So anything that you have that's in a drawer, in a cabinet, bring it out. Even if it's you doing it every morning, maybe everything's in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag and you keep it under the counter so that it's not out during the day, but you're bringing it out every night or every morning. Things have to be visible for them to be in our kids' consciousness. They have to be visible. We have to be able to see them. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why chores and hygiene may be a struggle, is just out of sight, out of mind, the concept of object permanence, and some strategies for how we can make them more visible and make it something that we think about more often. The same, if there's a chore that your kiddo is responsible for every day, how can you keep something visible to them that reminds them of that chore? Maybe they're responsible for loading and unloading the dishwasher every day. You can keep the dish soap on the counter, right? That might be a good reminder. Maybe they're responsible for feeding the cat every day. I sometimes struggle with this, with keeping my kitty fed. Luckily, she lets me know. She's, doesn't go more than about an hour outside of her food window. But you can keep the cat food somewhere very visible. Maybe it's part of another activity or task that they're doing. This is a great memory strategy. Is where I feed my cat is in the bathroom that's on my office here at my apartment. And so I always feed her before I have starfish classes and groups. So to me, they're in the same location. So when I come into my office to get ready for class or groups or one-on-ones or whatever it is I'm doing that evening, her food is right there. Same with her cat litter. They're right there in the bathroom that's in this room. And so for me, I didn't set that up that way on purpose, but it helped me figure out the ideal time to feed her is before I'm doing my classes and one-on-ones and game time and all that kind of stuff, because it's in the same vicinity. Also, it keeps her from crying and having a fit while I'm doing my classes and game times and one-on-ones. But just having even things that are related to chores, having some kind of visual representation that your kiddo can see that will help remind them. So those are my suggestions for things being out of sight. Another reason why chores and hygiene may be a struggle has to do with sensory struggles. There are a lot of chores and hygiene tasks that can be difficult for kids who have sensory struggles. Even adults, I struggle with some chores and hygiene I just forgot the word for that, activities, tasks, because of my sensory challenges. My biggest one is brushing my teeth. I will not use an electric toothbrush because I cannot handle the noise. It's so close to my ear when it's in my mouth. I cannot handle that noise. And I really dislike the feeling of it on my teeth when it's vibrating. I just all around, electric toothbrushes are a no-go for me. So I just use a regular toothbrush. That's something to consider too, is the sound and the feeling. Even a regular toothbrush is really uncomfortable for me from a sensory perspective, but I know I need to brush my teeth. And so if my choices are regular toothbrush or electric toothbrush, I'm going to use a regular toothbrush. But even that, I really dislike the feeling of brushing my teeth. I really dislike the toothbrush on my teeth and on my gums. Oh, just all of that. I also really dislike the taste of mint, which is what most toothpastes are. They're mint. I really dislike peppermint. In every form. I don't eat peppermint candies. I really am pretty turned off by peppermint. I don't like the smell of it. So I buy cinnamon toothpaste. That's my personal preference. I love cinnamon. I buy cinnamon toothpaste. I've also bought some kids toothpaste because you can get bubble gum, you can get grape, you can get all kinds of different things. And when I go to the dentist, they have a note in my file that I don't do peppermint. And so they have different toothpaste at the dentist office when they're cleaning your teeth that they can use also. I cannot handle peppermint in my mouth. So just some things to think about for your kiddo as well, that if brushing their teeth is a big challenge, it could be that they really struggle with just the feeling of the toothbrush in their mouth. It could be that they don't like different flavors of toothpaste, and maybe there needs to be some exploring. Many years ago, I think it was Crest. Crest had a toothpaste that was chocolate. They had 3 different ones, and I know because I bought them all, and they were all different variations with chocolate. They don't make it anymore. That was maybe a decade ago. They don't make it anymore. But for someone like me who is mint averse, that was really exciting. So just think about for your kiddo, a lot of it is probably the feel of a toothbrush in their mouth. There could also be the sound factor if they're using an electric toothbrush. There could be, the taste factor if they don't like certain types of toothpaste. Also, some people have a strong gag reflex. And so brushing in the back of their mouth, brushing their tongue may be incredibly unpleasant for them. So just some things to think about when it comes to brushing. I think for some hygiene things, another consideration is typically people are expected to brush their teeth twice a day. Maybe for your kiddo, it's once a day. Maybe it's just not that often. Maybe once a day is a win. So just something to think about, especially if it becomes a big issue. Other sensory issues with chores and hygiene, the shower. A lot of people really have a hard time with the water coming down on their head or on their body. They really have a hard time with that feeling. It might be the sound of the shower. Sometimes I've been in showers that make like a whiny noise as the water is coming out. Sometimes kids have a hard time regulating the temperature of the water. There's a lot of sensory things when it comes to showering, even especially now as we're getting into, colder weather here in the US. Some kids really have a hard time with being cold when they get in the shower or out of the shower. There's lots of sensory things that go along with showering. Alternatives may be a bath. A bath may be a really great alternative to a shower. I personally can't handle baths. I think they're so incredibly boring and I lose my mind when I try to take a bath. But so for me, shower is perfect. But for some people, there's just too much sensory going on when they try to take a shower. And then the feeling of, the shampoo, you've got possibly conditioner, you've got some sort of soap or body wash. There's just all these things going on, lots of textures. So if your child is able to talk to you about what it is about a shower that they don't like, there may be ways to accommodate that. If it's the coldness, you turn on the heater ahead of time. I used to live in a house that didn't have a heater in the bathroom, but we brought in a portable heater, just like a little space heater, to heat up the bathroom before I took a shower, so that when I was getting undressed to get in the shower, it wasn't cold. And when I was getting out of the shower, it wasn't cold. So just things like that that can really help with sensory regulation. Washing the dishes can be a huge, if there's soapy, again, regulating the temperature of the water, the crud that's on the dishes. Some people are really kind of disgusted by washing the dishes. Can definitely be one of those things that can be pretty difficult for some people to handle. So the use of a dishwasher would be really helpful in a situation like that. Vacuuming, the noise of vacuuming can really be a challenge for some of our kiddos. So they may be really reluctant to vacuum or to have somebody else vacuum. I have kind of like an off-brand Roomba, like the robotic vacuum, and I find it's not as noisy as a stand-up vacuum. So that may be an option as well. The last house I lived in didn't have carpet anywhere. It was all hardwood and tile. And so I used a wide, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It's like a mop broom, I guess. So it's not a mop, but it's not straw like a regular broom. So it's wide and it's like cloth. Then it, pushes everything around, and then you sweep it into a dustpan. But that way there was no noise from a vacuum because I didn't have any carpet. So I just used a broom like that to clean up the house. It was also fun, to be honest. It was fun to walk around with that push broom. If I were a child, I could see that I would be like maybe running with it. I would be like, it turns and angles and all kinds of things. That would be much more enjoyable for me if I was a child and my chore was to sweep than using a regular broom, which is often very awkward to hold, or vacuuming. So it's just something to think about there. Sometimes when it comes to cleaning, the smell of cleaning products can be really offensive. The smell of bleach, the smell of vinegar, the smell of, whatever it is that is being used for cleaning. So there are products that you can buy that are more natural and don't have that clean smell to them that can be really harsh on our systems if we are sensitive to smell. Sensitivity to smell is really common. And so even cleaning out a cat litter box, I clean my cat's litter box very regularly, but still the smell of, once you get the lid off and you're cleaning it, can be a lot. So just keeping in mind that could be an issue for your kiddo, is that the smell of cleaning the cat litter, taking out the trash, even washing the dishes with all the different foods that are going on, the smell of bleach, the smell of vinegar, whatever it is that you're using to clean, can be really difficult for some of our kids to handle. So I've switched to using a lot more natural cleaners, trash bags that have the scent in them. Obviously, the more often you empty cat litter, take out the trash, wash the dishes, those kinds of things, there's not a lingering smell, right? There's not a cumulative smell. So I'm big on, I try to wash my dishes. I wash my dishes at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, just so there's no lingering smell and the stuff that's on them is easier to get off. So all kinds of reasons why sensory may be getting in the way of your kiddo doing hygiene or chores. Another thing I hear a lot, I'm in, a lot of Facebook groups for women with ADHD, and washing their face in the sink because the water drips down your arms. I don't wash my face in the sink. I wash it when I'm in the shower. And so I don't have that experience. But I think for people who don't take a shower every day and who do wash their face in the sink, I very much can understand how that's such a turnoff from washing your face, is the water running down your arms. I absolutely understand that. So like I said, I wash my face in the shower. I have my bottle of face wash in there. You can also do the same with toothbrushing. You can have your toothbrush and your toothpaste in the shower, and you can just brush your teeth in the shower as part of your routine. Even if your kiddo doesn't take a shower every day, which may mean they're not brushing their teeth every day. One of the things to think about with chores and hygiene is getting things done successfully, even if they're not as frequently as some people would prefer, to me is a win. If your kiddo is able to brush their teeth 3 times a week while they're in the shower, to me, that's a win over it being an argument and a fight 7 or 14 times a week and ending in maybe your kiddo crying and you being frustrated. So to me, brushing your teeth 3 times a week in the shower versus 7 times a week where it's a fight, that's a win for me. Okay, I think that's everything I have for sensory. Another struggle, I'm telling you, there's a lot. Another struggle is the concept of time blindness. Often, and again, I can, from personal experience, when we think about chores or hygiene, we overestimate how much time these things will take. So let's say taking out the trash. We overestimate how long it will take to actually do that thing. We overestimate how long it takes to take a shower. We overestimate how long it takes to brush our teeth. So here's my suggestion for this. Time your kiddo doing these things. Actually time them, set a timer. Every phone has a timer on it. So time your kiddo doing these things and then write it on a Post-it note or something and stick it on the mirror. So brushing your teeth, how long does it take you to brush your teeth? Again, there is, I think, kind of a 2 minutes, if I'm remembering correctly, that you're supposed to brush your teeth. I don't know that I ever brush my teeth for 2 minutes. I brush my teeth, make sure I'm getting all the parts of my mouth, and then I'm done. So I've never timed myself. But if we stick to rigid expectations, we're not going to be very successful. So let your kiddo brush their teeth for however long they're able to handle brushing their teeth. Time them, see what that time is, and put it on a Post-it note. Washing their face, taking a shower, brushing their hair, emptying the dishwasher, taking out the trash, vacuuming their bedroom, putting their laundry away. Hey, time every one of these and write it down on a note somewhere. So that way you can remind your kiddo, hey, it's time to put your laundry away. Remember, it only takes 4 minutes. Okay, so just a reminder, it only takes this long. Sometimes people talk about having kids race the clock and see if they can do it faster. For chores and hygiene, I don't recommend that because you usually get a not so great job of it. Let's see how quickly you can brush your teeth. Okay, 3 seconds, done, right? That's not really what we're going for. So I don't recommend trying to race the clock for things like chores and hygiene. But I do think if you timed your kiddo brushing their teeth one time and it was 27 seconds, I think it's perfectly fine for that to be the new time, 27 seconds. And so once they get to 27 seconds, like, it's okay to stop. They don't have to keep going. So I think, again, just the concept of allowing, like, it reminds me of the phrase, done is better than perfect. Brushing your teeth 3 times a week is better than never, or it's better than it being a meltdown every time. So just whatever your kiddo is willing and able to handle. Organization. This is also when I talked about out of sight, out of mind. Where do you keep things? We tend to keep things in a location where they're put away. Let's keep things where they make the most sense and where they're actually used. I know I was talking to somebody a few months ago, and she said that her son would brush, I think it was brush his hair in her bathroom. So his brush needs to be in her bathroom. If your kiddo brushes their teeth in the shower, their toothbrush and toothpaste needs to live in the shower. Okay, wherever these things are done, that's where the items that are needed need to live. Even if, let's say that you want your kiddo to vacuum their bedroom once a week, they might need their own vacuum that is in their closet or in a corner of their room. How can we make this as easy as possible and really up the chances of it getting done? The same with, cleaning a bathroom. Maybe your kiddo has their own bathroom and they're responsible for cleaning it once a week. They need to have their own supplies in their own bathroom. They're much more likely to get it done with less of a challenge than if they have to go to the kitchen sink or your bathroom where the supplies are kept. So whatever it is that you're expecting them to do, have the tools available in that location, wherever that may be. If your kiddo does their hygiene every morning with you in your bathroom, all their stuff should be in your bathroom. Okay, wherever it is. I even keep a hairbrush in my truck, just because if I'm coming from the gym, if I'm out and about, whatever, I keep a hairbrush in my truck. Same with dental floss. I keep floss in my truck, just in case, I'm going to a meeting and I just had lunch and I, need to do a checkup or something. So organization, keeping things in an area where they're being used. Next up is the concept of routine and schedule. This ties in a lot to the out of sight, out of mind concept. A lot of people with ADHD resist the concept of routines and schedules, but I'll tell you, I would fall apart without them. So when it comes to my chores, I live by myself. I actually have a schedule for everything, because if I didn't, I would not do them. It's just as simple as that. I also am a big believer that when something is scheduled and repetitive and constant, it just becomes what we do. When it's not, it becomes, what's a good word? Something that's like getting in our way. It becomes something obtrusive. That's a good word for it. So some of the things that are on my schedule, every Sunday I do laundry, and I have a rotation of how I wash different things. So one weekend it's sheets and towels. The next weekend it's workout clothes. I actually have a rotation every week for what I'm washing that week. I don't ever wash all of my dirty clothes all at once. That means that every Sunday I'm only doing 1 or 2 loads. So I'm not washing everything at once. But because I'm on a rotation, I always have enough of what I need. I always, I have 3 sets of sheets and 3 sets of bath towels. So I only wash sheets and towels every 4 weeks, but I always have enough to get me through until I wash again. The same with workout clothes, underwear, socks. I wash those every 2 weeks. And so I have enough of all of them to get me through 2 weeks. If I'm gone on a Sunday, then it will be whatever the day is that I get home that I do it. So laundry every Sunday, and it's not ever a hassle for me because it's just what I do. It's just my routine. The same with, I mentioned cleaning my cat's litter. I have certain days of the week that I clean her litter box. It's just what I do. It's just the routine. Taking out the trash. I have 3 days a week that I take my trash out. And I generate very little trash. I just use the grocery bags, but 3 times a week, a Walmart, Target bag of trash is going out. like I said, washing the dishes, I always wash them at least once a day, usually twice a day, just to get them. And I don't use my dishwasher because I don't have enough dishes to justify that. So I just hand wash them in the sink and then set them out to dry. But I do that at least once a day. Vacuuming on Sundays. I have my robot vacuum and it runs on Sundays. Watering my plants, I do on Sundays, except my needy plant that needs it twice a week. So these things are all just part of my routine, which means that they are not getting in my way when it's time to do them. They are not making me feel like it's a hassle. It's just part of my routine. It's just what I do. And so the same with hygiene. It could be, when you get up, and even I get up at different times. I'm self-employed. I get up at different times, but when I get up, I have a routine, regardless of what time it is. The same with going to bed. I don't go to bed at a specific time, but before I go to bed, I have a routine. So for chores and hygiene, it's really helpful to have a schedule and a routine for when things get done. If your kiddo isn't showering every day, what are the days that are shower days? So it might be, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. What are the days that are shower days? If we leave it random, your kid's going to go 5 days without taking a shower, most likely. So schedule, routine. Just make it consistent, make it part of what we do. This is what we do on Sundays. This is what we do on Mondays. This is what we do on Tuesdays. I have a similar suggestion when it comes to your kiddo keeping their room clean, if that's a challenge. So it could be, it gets really overwhelming when somebody's expected to just go clean. Even for me, I'm like, I don't know where to start. It's very overwhelming. But it could be that every Monday they put their dirty clothes in the laundry. And every Tuesday they throw away any trash they have in their room. And every Wednesday they put all their toys back in the bin. And every Thursday they put books on the shelf. And every Friday they put away clean laundry. So again, these are obviously just examples. But if you have them doing one aspect on a schedule, then every day something is getting done. Every day it's something. Okay, so that's one strategy. Another strategy is that this is one that I really like to do. At the end of every day, I just spend 5 minutes walking around and seeing what can I put away, what can I throw away, what can I clean up, what can I, whatever. Just right before I started recording this, somebody came over and I'm looking around and, there's 5 things laying out that could have just been put away last night. And, it's not a bit, I do a good job of, keeping my home clean and tidy, which has not always been the case for me. Absolutely not. But it was just noticing that those 5 things I could have put away last night if I would have, done my 10-minute sweep or my 5-minute sweep. So that's another thing that, even sometimes bathrooms are a disaster after our kiddo has taken a shower or done their hygiene. So again, just a 5-minute sweep. We can hang up the towel on the rack. We can put our dirty clothes in the hamper. We can maybe wipe off the mirror that's got splatter everywhere. We can put the cap back on our toothpaste, just things like that. So what do you notice that we can take care of in 5 minutes? And this could be a race against the clock. What do you notice in this bathroom that we could take care of in 5 minutes? Oh, and then they're hanging the towel up and they're putting their clothes, right? And then it's more of a game, but it's also keeping things clean and organized and neat and tidy as you go. So I definitely recommend hygiene and chores be on a schedule and be part of a routine. Another thought is just the concept of tiny rewards. When your kiddo brushes their teeth, what's a tiny reward that they can have for that? When they clean their bathroom, when they put their clothes in the laundry room, just all these little things that take some thought and effort from them. What's a tiny reward? Even something simple like a high five. So when I'm teaching on Zoom, I do a lot of Zoom high fives, and they're actually kind of a big deal. I had a student yesterday that I think I had given one student a Zoom high five, and the second student did something similar and put his hand up, like for me to give him a high five. It's just little things like that. It could be, sometimes I'll play this game with myself where I can't have what I bought as a treat to eat until I've done my cleaning for the day, right? It could be something like that. But just a little dopamine hit that your kiddo can get when they finish something that's challenging for them, because hygiene and chores are challenging. That's just the way that it is. It is just challenging for us. One more thought. I remember several years ago, I was working with a student who was college age, and we were talking about the concept of chores. And one of the things that he brought up was, he said he doesn't mind loading and unloading the dishwasher, but that his mom always wants him to do it in a specific way. And that's really frustrating to him. And so he just won't do it. He just won't do the dishes. But he said, if she would just allow me to do it however I feel like it should go, if she would just allow me to do it the way that I think, I would do it every night. But she always wants me to do it her way. And he said, and then sometimes my dad comes in and my dad makes a suggestion on something different. He said, it just gets frustrating and confusing and overwhelming. If they would just allow me to do it my own way, I would have no problem doing it. And so I think there are some things, if we put glasses right side up in the dishwasher, obviously that's not going to work. That's not going to get clean. The same for bowls, things like that. But I think even things like where things go in a dishwasher, where things go when our kids are putting them away, whether it's dishes, whether it's their laundry, there are some things that just don't really matter. And the more things we choose to pick, the less likely our kid is going to be to get that thing done. So pick your battles. Again, yes, glasses need to go upside down. There's a certain place where silverware goes, stuff like that. A lot of the rest of it doesn't really matter. And what you can do, I'm going to go back to the dishwasher example. If your kiddo is responsible for loading the dishwasher and they load the dishwasher and run it, and then it's time to unload and some of the dishes aren't clean, that would be a great time to make a suggestion. I notice that all the plates are still dirty. I wonder if it's because they were stacked on top of each other. How do you think we could load them differently so that they're clean next time? Okay. And the incentive for your kiddo to listen and to do it differently is that now they have to do it again, right? Because the dishes aren't clean. They have to do it again. So the incentive is to only have to do something one time. But we don't want to tell our kids what to do. We want to make suggestions and be open to their ideas. So this can be, even with showering, there may be a certain order that your kiddo wants to do certain things when they're in the shower. There may be a certain time of day they prefer to take a shower. There's just lots of different things like that. Let your kids do it in whatever way they're gonna get it done. Folding and putting away clothes. I know this is a challenge. A lot of people just really hate putting clothes away. So I know some people who don't have dressers, everything goes in their closet. So it's usually a lot easier to hang something up than to fold it and put it away. So all of their shirts, even, t-shirts, workout shirts, are on hangers in a closet. The same with their pants. They might have a basket in their closet for all their underwear and another one for all their socks. Okay, so again, picking battles. Does underwear need to be folded? Do workout clothes, weekend running around the house clothes, do those need to be folded? Can they just be thrown in a drawer somewhere? So how can we take away the little frustrations that honestly don't really matter? How can we just remove those and take them away? the things that don't really matter. Okay. I want to wrap this up with the concept of our kids don't avoid hygiene and chores because they're lazy or because they're trying to, get on our nerves, or because there are always reasons. And again, I let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I gave six reasons just in this episode of why chores and hygiene may be a struggle for your kiddo. So please don't assume that they're trying to be difficult. Please don't assume that they're lazy and they're never going to be able to live on their own. Which brings me to another point. One reason our kids may not be doing, especially chores for themselves, is because someone is doing it for them. If you are doing things for your kiddo has no reason to do it for themselves. Okay, so you can look up some different lists and ideas that people have about age-appropriate chores, but even things like, if your kiddo takes their lunch to school, at what age do they start becoming responsible for getting their own lunch together? At what age are they responsible for washing their own clothes, putting their own clothes away? At what age are they responsible for helping with things like taking out the trash, writing things down on a grocery list? At what age do they clean their own bathroom? Cooking, right? Do they help with dinner? I've met a couple middle school and high school kids over my years who have told me they have 0 chores. 0. I think sometimes it comes from the fact that, sometimes we might have to go after them and redo what they did. But if we're doing chores for them, they have no reason to do it themselves. We all operate that way. None of us are that inclined to do something that someone else is willing to do for us. Okay, so that's a big thing too, is paying attention to what are you doing that your kiddo could be doing, even if they don't do it the way that you think they should. They can still do it. I remember when I went to college, I met somebody, we became really good friends, and we were in a math class together. And we also lived in the same dorm. And so we struck up a deal. He had never learned how to do laundry because his parents just always did it for him. So we struck up a deal. He paid for laundry and I washed both of our clothes. And so I was able to do laundry for free and he got his laundry washed. I did not fold it and put it away for him. But every week when I would go do my laundry, I would go get his and I would do all of our laundry. But I just thought, oh my gosh, this guy is 18 years old. He's now off living on his own in college and he has never done laundry. And this was a neurotypical dude, right? This wasn't one of, a kiddo with autism or ADHD. He was a neurotypical guy. And he just never been expected to do his own laundry. So if we're doing things for our kids, they are not going to start doing them. So you can do this. You can make this a process and a transition. I remember, I know you thought I was about to end this episode and I'm off on another tangent now. But I remember working with a student a couple years ago, and he was 18 and his mom was thinking about things that he could start doing more independently. And they already had a system where mom and stepdad went out of town sometimes and he was home alone and was totally fine with that. One of the things that she wanted him to do more of was helping with dinner, when everybody was home. And she said, every Friday night we have the same thing. It's like a tradition that we have every Friday night. We have the same thing. So she said that would be a really great place for him to start because he already knows what it is. And so we did what's called chaining. And there's forward chaining and backward chaining. And chaining is where forward chaining, excuse me, is where you have the kiddo or the person do the first step of a process and then you complete it. And then as time goes on, you add more and more steps. So maybe now they're doing steps 1, 2, 3, and you're doing 4 and 5. And eventually the goal is to get them to do all 5. So an example could be tying their shoes. The first thing you teach them how to do is just get the 2 laces and hold them up. And then you do the rest. And then you get to the point where they're holding up the laces and they're crossing them over each other and they're putting one underneath. And then you do the rest. Right? And then you get to where they learn how to do all the steps. Backward chaining is where they do the final step and you do everything leading up to it. And then over time, for example, if there's 5 steps, over time, now you're doing 1 and 2 and they're doing 3, 4, 5. So you can do chaining either way. So that's what we did for his Friday night meal prep is we started with, I don't remember if we did forward chaining or backward chaining, but basically the goal was for him to be responsible for the Friday night meal eventually. So that's a great way. Laundry, loading and unloading the dishwasher, vacuuming, mowing the lawn, all kinds of things you can teach your kids through chaining. Mowing the lawn just made me think about things like vacuuming, cleaning mirrors, mowing the lawn. There are times our kids might not understand the concept of covering all the space. So just like my robotic vacuum has 0 patterns, it just goes until it runs into something and then it goes somewhere else. But most robotic vacuums learn a pattern, right? They learn how to go back and forth, up and down, so that they're covering the entire space. The same when most people mow their lawn, they either go in a back and forth, up and down pattern, or they go in a, outside to in, like a spiral pattern. But there's some sort of pattern to make sure that you're covering everything. A lot of our kids don't have a concept of that. And so that's something that we need to teach them. So when we're vacuuming, we go up and down, up and down, up and down. Maybe the same with sweeping, washing, cleaning a mirror, making sure that you're covering everything, mowing the lawn, making sure that you're getting everything. But there's got to be a system. There's got to be some sort of pattern to it. Otherwise, they're just kind of going to randomly go wherever they go, and then we're going to be frustrated. So just another thought for that is that it takes conscious effort to do things like that in a pattern. And our kids don't always recognize that. They need to be taught. Okay, on that note, I think I'm actually ready to wrap up this episode. Hopefully you have just a better picture of why chores and hygiene may be such a struggle for your kiddo, and some strategies and systems and structure for how we can make them easier, more enjoyable, at least less unenjoyable, and much more likely to get done. One final note is that hygiene, especially, our kids don't always recognize that maybe they are a little bit stinky, a little bit sweaty, their teeth are dirty. Our kids don't always recognize that. It's okay to be blunt with your kid about stuff like that. Understanding that there's a difference between blunt and rude. So blunt could be something like, oh man, I can smell that you haven't put deodorant on today. It makes me think other people can probably smell it too. What do you want to do about that? Versus being like, man, you stink. All right. There's a difference between being blunt and rude. Our kids need bluntness. They need it to be called out that somebody can smell them, or that somebody can see food in their teeth, or that their face is crusty today. They need it to be called out, but without it being rude. Because if we're not doing that, their peers are. Right? Their peers are going to say something about it. They're going to say something to other kids about it. They're going to get a reputation for being stinky or dirty or smelly or whatever. So we need to be blunt with our kiddos about hygiene. A lot of our kiddos really don't have a concept that the way they look and smell affects their reputation. They just don't have that concept. And so for a lot of people, we do hygiene because we don't want to smell. We don't want to look dirty, right? It has to do with how other people perceive us. And our kids just don't always have that concept. Hygiene is very much a social construct, even though it sounds weird to think about it that way. A lot of the hygiene activities we do are because of our thoughts about how other people think about us. And so when so many of our kids don't have that concept, hygiene becomes just this thing they're supposed to do that they don't really want to do. Okay, so that's another, just know that if your kids are resistant to doing hygiene stuff, or it's just not even on their mind, that's why it's actually a social construct, and it requires that we think about other people. And a lot of our kids are just really challenged in that area. Okay, I promise I'm wrapping up this time. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you again next week. I'm really glad that you're here.